Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is $3 Theater. And oh my god, we have ourselves a release date for what can only be called the third film in the Unbreakable trilogy, if that's kind of what you want to call it. I'd probably argue it's more of an Unbreakable anthology versus a trilogy. But what we know is the movie is going to be called Glass, and it comes out January 18th, 2019, which seems like an odd release date for a movie like this, right? Why would a movie that's as anticipated as Unbreakable 2, so to speak, would be coming out in January, right? Well, that's mostly due to the fact that horror films tend to do pretty well in January, and Split, which was M. Night Shyamalan's latest movie and kind of like Unbreakable 2, or like the second part of the anthology, took place was released in January and did pretty well, and there actually tends to be an audience for those kind of films around that time. And M. Night Shyamalan himself has actually been doing well recently with releasing films in the off-season, so to speak, with The Visit coming out, I want to say either end of September or early October 2014 or 2014, 2015, I forget. And then, of course, you had, I think 2015, and then you had Split coming out January of this year, of 2017. So clearly that's when he's working well. But here's what he said on Twitter this morning, so we know for certain what is going down. He says, "Okay, here we go. Finish the new script. It's taken 17 years, but I can finally answer the number one question and get, are you making a fucking sequel to Unbreakable or what? My new film is a sequel to Unbreakable and Split. It was always my dream to have both films collide in this third film. The iconic Bruce Willis returns as David Dunn. The incomparable Samuel L. Jackson will return as Elijah Price / Mr. Glass. The virtuoso James McAvoy returns as Kevin Wendell Crumb. Patricia Dennis Hedwig, Barry Jade Orwell the Beast, Heinrich Norma Pole, and The Prodigy. Anya Taylor-Joy will return as Casey Cook. I'm reteaming with my partners Jason Blum and Universal Pictures for this crazy comic book thriller, and the film is called Glass. Universal Pictures will release Glass on January 18th, 2019 all over the world. How's that for not keeping a secret?" Now, there's a lot to kind of take away from this. For one, I find it interesting that he's working Universal and Jason Blum. Now, Split was produced through Blumhouse Productions, and they, of course, have a distribution deal worked out with Universal. In fact, Blumhouse films tend to do very well. They're super low budget, like usually under 10 million or somewhere around there, and they make pretty good money. They did all the Paranormal Activities, they did the Purge movies. These films that Jason Blum puts out or Bloom, if I'm saying that wrong, I'm sorry, tend to do well from the low budget scale. And I think also they did The Visit as well. So it makes sense that The Visit doing very well in terms of business and Split doing very well in terms of business. Jason Blum wants to give it to M. Night Shyamalan to do this movie, and Universal putting it out. Now, here's the thing: is the first Unbreakable was published or was distributed, not published, distributed through Touchstone, and they chose not to pick up the sequel because of the poor box office returns. What was interesting, though, at the time when Unbreakable came out, there was supposed to be a trilogy. If I remember correctly, it was supposed to be Unbreakable, Breakable, and Broken, with Unbreakable being probably one of the best superhero origin stories of all time, just in terms of how it was crafted, how it was created. And then the next ones are going to, we're going to be David Dunn versus Mr. Glass and probably bringing in other people, so on and so forth, and then going from there. And it was something that fans of M. Night Shyamalan back in the early 2000s desperately wanted. I mean, this is a dude who came on the scene with The Sixth Sense, and people loved the twist. They loved how creepy it was. I personally didn't care for it as much as other people, but Unbreakable was amazing, and it is my favorite M. Night Shyamalan film. Then, of course, he followed that up with Signs, which was not as good as Unbreakable. I still think better than The Sixth Sense, but that twist at the end was a little bit odd and started kind of making people go, what? And then, of course, there was The Village, which, again, interesting setup, and the ending of it was just kind of what? Then you had Lady in the Water, which was all the way through, what? And then we get The Happening. And then we get The Happening. That happened. We all have to live with that now, right? And that was kind of where, like, M. Night Shyamalan's arc started to just spiral out of control. It just started, his career started shooting down. And then we had like The Last Airbender, which did well, right? Did well. It was it was profitable for Paramount and everything, but it just still didn't do what they wanted. Overall, there was never a sequel to it, mostly because the fans came out and they were just like, "This has nothing to do with the movie or with the show. Totally different, everything." And then Shamalama Ding Dong went away for a while, and then he came back producing the movie Devil, which did well in terms of response. And people still think that he directed it, even though he didn't. It was the guys who did the Poughkeepsie tapes who directed Devil, and they've moved on to other stuff too. I forget. It doesn't even matter. But, then of course he also still did After Earth, that Will Smith, Jaden Smith stinker from the summer of 2013. And we didn't see him for a couple of years. We didn't see him for a while because he went on to go back to what he did well, which is low budget, which is what he did with The Visit and then also with Split. So I personally think that him tackling the subject matter, tackling the third film and adapting the franchise to kind of tie into this is definitely going to be for the best. And the fact that Bruce Willis is involved is good. I hope that he's able to bring out what we loved about Bruce Willis back in the day, because lately it feels like Bruce Willis has just become this like bitter, cynical old man. And that works in some cases, and that might work in this particular story if it's taking place 17 years after the events of Unbreakable, and maybe David Dunn is just tired of fighting crime and he is bitter and cynical, and maybe that could tie into it. And of course, Glass is, going to be doing whatever Glass is up to, and Samuel Jackson has only gotten more charismatic over time and more lovable, more huggable. Who doesn't love Samuel Jackson, right? And so I have a feeling we're going to see this kind of change in the characters a bit, and I'm hoping that they play up maybe the more like maniacal side of Glass while still making him cool and calculated, which is what we liked from him in the first film. So there's a lot that's going on with this one. I could probably ramble on for a lot longer about why I like Unbreakable, why I'm excited for this, why I'm glad that it's taking place with Split. Because look, here's the thing. Split may not be your cup of tea. A lot of people really, really liked it. And it was a return to form for M. Night Shyamalan. And the fact that he was able to tie it into Unbreakable, even if it was just kind of like a little thing at the end of it to kind of like make people go, oh, snap. It did well enough, and it reignited enough love of that film to give us a third one or a sequel, however you want to refer to it. And that's cool. And maybe it's time to let M. Night Shyamalan out of the doghouse. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like people are willing to forgive him. He had a bad stretch there for a while. Hollywood stopped giving him money, and then he just started doing low budget stuff, and we'll have to wait and see what happens here. But I'm excited. I hope you're excited. And January 18th, 2019, I'll be in the theater wanting to see where this film goes, because if he can capture that magic that he had 17 years ago, and not do stuff like The Happening or Lady in the Water, oh dear God. Like, I think he might have had a bit too big of an ego at that time. God, I hate thinking of those movies, especially The Happening. It's the trees. It's the trees. It's just as bad as Nicolas Cage in The Wicker Man. It's the bees. The bees. It's just, that was also 2008, I believe. That was a really bad time for horror movies. No, Wicker Man was like 06. Never mind. I'm off. But anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Are you excited for Unbreakable sequel? I don't know if it's going to be Glass is what they're calling it, so it's going to be Glass. Are you excited for Glass? I'm excited for Glass. But yeah, write your thoughts down below. I'm curious to know what you guys think. My name is, of course, Matt Jarbo. You've been listening to Three Buck Theater. If you haven't already, thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, check back often for more movie news updates from me. Get your friends in on the conversation, share this around, geek out in the comments. These are things I want to know about. I'll talk to you all later. Have yourself a fantastic day, and peace out.